May 7th, 1942. Coral Sea. Just after dawn. The ocean below is flat and metallic, a vast sheet of gray-blue steel broken only by whitecaps and the long shadows of clouds drifting low and slow. The air is warm already, heavy with salt, fuel vapor, and the faint burned oil smell that never quite leaves a carrier deck. Engines cough to life one by one, radial cylinders barking and settling into a deep, chest-rattling rumble. On the flight deck of USS Lexington, sailors crouch low as prop wash tears at their jerseys. Flags snap, hands signal. A single aircraft lurches forward into the wind, an F4F Wildcat. Lieutenant Junior Grade Edward Butch O'Hara, 28 years old, St. Louis-born, lean, sharp-eyed, sits hunched forward in the cockpit, shoulders tight against the armored seat back. Sweat runs down his spine beneath the May West. The canopy is closed now. The world outside is framed in thick metal and armored glass. He shoves the throttle forward. The Pratt & Whitney R-1830 roars, 18 cylinders clawing for power. The Wildcat shakes, nose straining, tail light. Then the deck falls away. Sky, sea, nothing else. The Wildcat is not beautiful in flight. It does not leap. It does not glide. It hauls itself into the air like a stubborn animal, heavy and deliberate, climbing at barely 1,500 feet per minute. At military power, it tops out around 318 miles per hour on a good day. Its controls are stiff. Its landing gear cranks up by hand. A metal lever O'Hara spins with his right arm until it locks into place, muscles burning as the sea drops away beneath him. He knows the numbers. Every Wildcat pilot does. And so do the Japanese. High above, invisible in the sun, Mitsubishi A6M Zeros are already moving. Their pilots, young, confident, blooded over China, look down on the American fighters with something close to contempt. The Zero climbs faster, turns tighter, accelerates like a knife thrown from the hand. No armor, no self-sealing tanks. But none of that has mattered, yet. They have never needed it. To a Zero pilot, the Wildcat is prey. Slow, fat, predictable. O'Hara levels off at 12,000 feet, scanning the sky. The radio crackles with clipped voices. Contacts reported, bearings called, distances estimated, with the rough urgency of men who know they will be tested in minutes, not hours. He thinks of the reports. Wildcats shredded over wake, pilots burning, parachutes blossoming too late. He thinks of the Zero's 20mm cannons, short bursts, devastating hits. One shell in the wrong place and it is over. The Wildcat's cockpit is cramped, hot. The gun sight glass vibrates faintly with engine harmonics. 4 .50 caliber Browning machine guns sit silent in the wings, 450 rounds per gun, waiting. The ammunition belts are heavy. So is the plane. So is the armor plate behind his head, the bullet-resistant windshield in front of his face. He touches the throttle unconsciously, checks oil pressure, cylinder head, temperature. Everything is in the green. The Wildcat is ready. A warning shout cuts across the radio. Bandits! Hi! 1 o'clock! The sky fractures. Black specks swell into pale shapes with red suns on their wings. Zeros dive with terrifying grace, noses down, propellers screaming as gravity and engine combine. They are doing nearly 400 miles per hour in the dive, closing the distance in seconds. O'Hara yanks the stick back and left. The Wildcat groans, wings flexing, airframe protesting the sudden load. He knows better than to turn flat with a Zero. Everyone knows that now. A turning fight is death. A Zero flashes past, so close he sees the pilot's goggles, the pale scarf snapping in the slipstream. Cannon shells streak by, white-hot tracers punching holes in the air where O'Hara was a heartbeat earlier. The Wildcat shudders. A metallic clang echoes through the fuselage. Then another. and another. Rounds slam into the wings, into the engine. Cowling. One punches through the left wing root, shredding aluminum and control cables. Another sparks off the armored windshield, spiderwebbing the glass but not penetrating. The Wildcat keeps flying. Fuel does not erupt into flame. The tank does not explode. The engine does not seize. O'Hara's breath comes sharp and fast. His hands tighten on the stick. His heart hammers, but the airplane, this squat, stubborn machine, absorbs the punishment and stays alive. Behind him, a Zero overshoots, its pilot surprised. He expected smoke, fire, a falling American. Instead, the Wildcat is still there. The Zero climbs hard, trying to zoom back into position. O'Hara does not follow. He dives instead, building speed, trading altitude for life. Another Wildcat slides into view on his wing. Lieutenant Commander John Thach, calm, deliberate, already setting up something new. Something disciplined. Something the Japanese have not seen before. Two Wildcats cross paths, weaving toward each other as Zeros close in from behind, confident, eager, already committed. The trap is about to spring. And for the first time in the Pacific War, the Zero will learn a lesson written not in speed or grace, but in survival. The two Wildcats close fast, nose to nose, props screaming, engines straining, the ocean wheeling beneath them. For a split second, it looks like a collision is inevitable. Then both aircraft roll away at the last instant, crossing paths with barely 50 feet to spare. Behind them, the Zeros commit. Two Japanese fighters dive after O'Hara. Two more latch onto Thach. It is exactly what Thach wanted. The maneuver has no elegance to it, no flowing grace. It is geometry and discipline, practiced again and again in briefing rooms and empty skies. The Thach Weave. Two fighters flying a loose pair, crossing back and forth like the teeth of a zipper. Any enemy that follows, one exposes itself to the guns of the other. Simple, brutal, effective. A Zero sticks to O'Hara's tail, its pilot certain now. He has the angle, he has the speed. He squeezes the trigger. Cannons bark, machine guns chatter, rounds slam into the Wildcat again, harder this time. The left wing shudders violently, warning lights flicker. The engine coughs once, then steadies. Smoke curls back along the fuselage, thin but unmistakable. Inside the cockpit, O'Hara tastes copper. His jaw is clenched so tight it hurts. Any other aircraft, any Japanese aircraft, would already be dead. The Zero pilot expects it. He closes the distance, intent on finishing the kill. And then the Wildcat crosses. Thach's nose swings through the Zero's flight path. 450 calibers erupt in a single, sustained burst. Tracers reach out like glowing fingers. They hit. The Zero disintegrates in stages. First the right wing, then the engine cowling, then flame. The aircraft snaps into a violent roll, pieces tearing free as fire pours from the fuselage. The pilot never bails out. The ocean rushes up to meet the wreckage. O'Hara doesn't watch. He can't afford to. Another Zero is already lining up, this one coming in from above and behind, using altitude like a hammer. The Wildcat's controls feel heavier now. Aileron response is sluggish. The left wing is damaged badly. The Zero fires again. A 20mm shell detonates against the fuselage side. The explosion rocks the cockpit. Shrapnel rattles through the airframe like thrown gravel. O'Hara feels the impact in his bones. Still the plane flies. The armor plate behind his seat absorbs fragments that would have torn through muscle and spine. The self-sealing fuel tank swells and closes around punctures, denying fire the oxygen it needs. The Wildcat bleeds, but it does not hemorrhage. The Zero overshoots, frustrated. Japanese doctrine demands aggression, speed, precision, a quick kill, then climb away. What it does not account for is prey that refuses to die. Below them, the battle spreads across the sky, wildcats in pairs, weaving, diving, breaking away only to cross again. Zeros slash through, scoring hits, but not kills. Again and again, American fighters trail smoke, leak oil, fly wounded, and keep fighting. The Japanese pilots begin to hesitate. Every pass costs them speed. Every overshoot exposes them. Every second they spend behind a Wildcat is a second another American can line up a shot. 1-0 pulls into a tight climbing turn, confident in its superiority. Its pilot has done this maneuver 100 times over China. The Wildcat following cannot match the turn. He knows it. He doesn't try. Instead, he unloads the stick, dives, builds speed, and comes back up in a slashing attack. His bullets rake the Zero's fuselage. There is no armor, no self-sealing tank. The Zero ignites instantly. Fire blooms bright orange against the blue sky. The aircraft snaps inverted and falls, burning all the way down. The pattern repeats. Zeros that should have escaped are caught. Zeros that should have killed find themselves hunted. The sky fills with spiraling smoke trails, fragments of aluminum, parachutes, some opening, some not. O'Hara glances at his instruments. Oil pressure is dropping. The engine is wounded. He has minutes, maybe less. A Zero makes one last attempt, diving straight down at him, guns blazing. Tracers whip past the canopy. One punches through the cowling, severing a cylinder head. The engine roars unevenly now, shaking violently. But the Wildcat does not break apart. O'Hara rolls inverted and dives toward the sea, pushing the aircraft beyond what its designers ever intended. The airspeed needle creeps past 350 miles per hour. Control forces stiffen. The Wildcat becomes a missile, heavy, fast, unstoppable. The Zero cannot follow without tearing its wings off. It pulls out. O'Hara levels just above the waves, spray flashing beneath his wings. The engine sputters, then steadies again, somehow still alive. He climbs slowly, painfully, back toward friendly airspace. When he finally lands on Lexington, the deck crew stares. The Wildcat is shredded. Holes pepper the wings and fuselage. The cowling is dented and scorched. Oil streaks run back along the belly. One landing gear strut barely locks, but the pilot climbs out alive. That image of battered Wildcats returning again and again, their pilots shaken but breathing, travels fast. Faster than intelligence reports. Faster than doctrine changes. By Guadalcanal, months later, Japanese pilots will still laugh when they see the squat silhouette of the Wildcat climbing toward them. They will stop laughing when it comes home. August 24th, 1942, Eastern Solomons, late afternoon. The heat is suffocating, even at altitude. Humidity clings to skin and canvas alike, turning cockpits into ovens and making every breath feel heavy. Below, the jungle of Guadalcanal is a solid wall of green, broken only by rivers that snake toward the sea and the scar of Henderson Field, carved into the earth. This is not Coral Sea anymore. There are no wide expanses of open water to ditch into, no carriers waiting just beyond the horizon. If a pilot goes down here, the options are brutal. Jungle, ocean, or capture. Lieutenant James Pug Sutherland, 24, Ohio farm boy turned naval aviator, tightens his grip on the stick as his Wildcat climbs to 15,000 feet. His aircraft is older now, scarred, patched. The paint around the engine cowling is burned thin from months of hard flying. The wings bear small riveted plates where holes once were. He trusts it anyway. Across the sky, Zeros rise to meet them from Rabaul. Engines clean, airframes light, pilots aggressive. The Japanese still believe in speed and initiative. They still believe the Wildcat is inferior. The first merge happens fast, Zeros dive from the sun, cannons firing in short, precise bursts. Wildcats break formation into pairs, instantly weaving, crossing paths with mechanical precision drilled into muscle memory. No one chases. No one turns flat. Every move is deliberate. Sutherland's Wildcat takes a hit almost immediately. A cannon round tears through the right wing, exploding outward in a spray of metal. The aircraft lurches violently. The control stick jerks in his hands. Warning lights flash red. He expects fire. It doesn't come. The fuel tank seals. The wing holds. The Wildcat keeps flying. A Zero slides in behind him, confident again, closing to point-blank range. Sutherland feels the impacts, hard, percussive blows that rattle his teeth. Shards of aluminum tear through the fuselage, punching holes inches from his legs. He smells oil, sees smoke, hears the engine stumble. He does not bail out. Instead, he drags the Wildcat into a shallow dive, building speed, letting gravity help the wounded engine. Another Wildcat crosses his path, his wingman, and the Zero follows without thinking. It dies in a converging crossfire of 50 caliber bullets. The Japanese pilot never knew what hit him. All across the sky, the same story unfolds. Wildcats absorb punishment that would turn Zeros into flaming wrecks. Pilots who should be dead are still fighting. Planes that should be falling are limping home, engines coughing, wings half shredded. Zeros score hits, Wildcats score kills. The imbalance is subtle at first, then unmistakable. Japanese pilots begin to fire longer bursts, trying to force destruction through sheer volume. Their ammunition runs low, their fuel burns fast. Their aircraft, once damaged, offer no second chances. A Wildcat can lose half a wing and still fly. A Zero cannot. As the sun drops toward the horizon, the sky becomes a maze of smoke trails and falling aircraft. Henderson Field comes into view, a narrow strip surrounded by jungle and artillery pits. Wildcats peel away one by one, descending with wounded engines and damaged control surfaces. Sutherland brings his aircraft in hot, barely clearing the trees. The landing gear drops unevenly. One wheel locks late. The Wildcat slams onto the dirt strip, skids, bounces, and finally stops in a cloud of dust. He climbs out on shaking legs. Ground crewmen stare at the damage in silence. More than 50 holes. Shrapnel embedded in the engine mount. Control cables frayed to threads. Armor plate behind the cockpit pitted and scarred. Any Zero that took that damage would have vanished from the sky. This one brought its pilot home. That night, under dim lights and mosquito nets, the pilots talk in low voices. They speak of friends lost, of close calls, of the way the Wildcat just kept going. It is no longer a joke. It is no longer something the Japanese underestimate. The Wildcat is not a predator in the traditional sense. It does not chase. It does not dominate. It endures. And in the skies over Guadalcanal, endurance is killing more enemy aircraft than speed ever could. Late 1942, Pacific skies, from the Solomons to the Central Pacific. The F4F Wildcat is no longer new. It is no longer mocked openly. Japanese pilots still know its weaknesses, its slow climb, its heavy controls. But now they know something else too. Something harder to quantify. It is hard to kill. That realization changes behavior in the air. Zeros break off attacks sooner. They fire from longer ranges. They avoid lingering behind American fighters. Where once they pressed every advantage, now they hesitate. Just enough. And in air combat, hesitation is fatal. On paper, the Wildcat should be obsolete. Newer fighters are already appearing. Sleeker designs, faster engines, better climb rates. But in the months when the war hangs in the balance, when trained pilots are irreplaceable and experience matters more than raw performance, The Wildcat does something no statistic can capture. It brings men home. Pilots land with engines seized, props frozen, wings stitched together by repair crews working through the night. Wildcats fly again with mismatched panels, faded paint, control surfaces scavenged from wrecks. Each scar is a lesson learned and survived. Japanese units, by contrast, feel the attrition quietly at first. A veteran does not return. Then another. Aircraft are replaced faster than pilots. Experience drains away one burning cockpit at a time. Zeros that once ruled the sky now face opponents who refuse to die. In reports, American intelligence begins to notice the pattern. Damage tolerance. Pilot survival rates. Engagement outcomes improving not because the Wildcat wins cleanly, but because it lasts long enough for teamwork, discipline, and chance to matter. The Wildcat teaches its pilots restraint. It forces them to fight smart, to rely on formation, timing, and mutual protection. It turns individual duels into coordinated hunts. That philosophy carries forward. By the time Hellcats and Corsairs arrive in force, the foundation is already laid. The tactics are proven. The mindset is hardened. The Pacific Air War turns decisively. Years later, pilots remember the feel of the Wildcat more than its numbers. The way it shook under fire but stayed controllable. The way the armor rang like a bell when hit. The way the engine kept turning when logic said it shouldn't. They remember climbing out of cockpits that looked like wrecks. They remember living. The Japanese pilots had been right about one thing. The Wildcat was not the fastest. It was not the most graceful. It was not the most lethal at first glance. But it survived what should have killed it. And in a war decided as much by who comes back as who goes down, that made it one of the deadliest fighters in the sky.